Hi, I'm Mori, and I've been a fan of Stardew for almost 4 years now. So today I wanted to show off my go-to aesthetic mods that I like to use on my farm, which are still compatible with 1.6. The first mod that I'd like to talk about is Gwen's medieval buildings, and this has been one of my go-to mods pretty much since I discovered that I could mod my Stardew game. It gives every building this overgrown, sort of rustic look that I am simply obsessed with, and this includes every farm building, including the barns, the coops, your mill, anything you can think of, Gwen has got it covered. This mod goes hand in hand with Wayback Pelican Town, which is also created by Gwen. This mod retextures the other buildings found around Pelican Town and Stardew Valley to match the look of your medieval farm buildings. There is so much love put into this mod down to the smallest details. The museum gets probably my favorite retexture out of all of these buildings. It's probably because my favorite color is green, but either way, I love taking photos here. For those of us who enjoy playing Stardew Valley Expanded, Gwen has also created medieval versions of all of these buildings for us too. I really like my mods to be very cohesive, so having matching versions of all of these buildings was an absolute must-have for me. I am the kind of player who likes to move around pretty quickly in Stardew, so I tend to pave over my whole farm. Except, I still want it to look nice and, aesthetically pleasing while I do it, so Gwen's path has been an absolute lifesaver for me. All of the paving on my farm, including this wooden path that I'm walking on right now, these stepping stones that you see, all of these come with Gwen's paths, and honestly, I could not live without this mod anymore. It's become pretty much essential to any kind of decorating or planning of my farm that I do, and it just matches the overall look with her buildings and the rest of the game so well. This next mod is one of my favorites because, despite being a farm sim girly, I am a little bit terrified of horses, so having the option to retexture my horse into a deer is kind of ideal for me. There are 4 different options for the color, but honestly I think the default one is so cute as is. Speaking of animals, up next we have Elle's cuter coop and barn animals. I am absolutely obsessed with this retexture. I don't know how she managed to make the animals 10 times cuter than they already are, but the ducks and especially the pigs are some of my favorites. I'm especially fond of how the pigs sort of flop over when they're tired and just kind of lay there looking all cute. I think this mod does a really good job of making the animals definitely a lot cuter, but still kind of sticking to the Stardew art style. They don't feel very out of place for me, the way that some other mods could. Big kudos to Elle for hitting the balance so perfectly. Also, while I was recording, I spotted this little guy taking a swim in the river, and I had to share it with you. I mean, just look at him. Dynamic Reflections is a pretty simple mod that does exactly what its name suggests. The farmers and other characters' reflections can be seen in various pools of water, in rivers, and even on your farm. It's simple, but it does a good job of making the game feel more alive and more immersive. Foliage Redone by Dustbeauty is a super popular mod, beloved by many of us Stardew players, myself included. Sadly, this mod has not been officially updated for 1.6, however, there has been an unofficial update by Magnolia Blossom on the Stardew Valley forum. I'll include a link in the description so that you can download it for yourself. As you can see, this mod retextures all of the foliage in the game, including the grass, trees, and other shrubs you can find around the map. The change in texture of the mushroom trees and the decorative cherry blossom trees that you can find around the map are probably my favorites. Next up, I'd like to talk about Gwen's Craftables. As you can probably guess, this mod retextures all of the craftables in the game, including chests, seed makers, looms, any machinery that you can think of, and gives it a cuter, rustic look that matches the medieval buildings. It even manages to make the lightning rods look cute. They kind of have this adorable overgrown thing going on. Next up is one of my favorite mods, which is the Hot Spring Farm Cave. This mod turns the farm cave that Demetrius unlocks for you into a fully functioning hot spring. What more could you ask for? This redesign still allows you to collect fruit and mushrooms the same way that you normally would, so don't worry about losing the functionality of the cave. You'll still be able to collect everything just as you did before. Downstairs is where you'll find the actual hot spring, and more fruit in my case. And I think this is such a beautiful aesthetic mod that honestly is so unnecessary but brings me so much joy each time I go down here. Like I mentioned, this is still a fully functional hot spring, allowing your character to change into a little swimsuit before they take a dip in the water, so you can save yourself the trouble of having to walk all the way to the bathhouse and just take a bath in the comfort of your own farm. I find this really useful to have at the beginning of the game when your energy bars are quite low and you run out pretty quickly. Better Crops and Foraging by Cometkins has become kind of an essential mod for me. I find that these more detailed and muted sprites just work best with the other aesthetic mods that I've chosen for my farm. As you can see, I have this greenhouse full of ancient fruit, and I love how this sprite changes the look of the actual crop itself and the fruit that you pick. I don't really grow a ton of crops on my farm aside from flowers, but I love this retexture for the tulips in spring. This mod author also has matching mods, including better fishing, better gems, better artisan goods, which is how I got this cute little coffee cup that you see here on the table. Now let's finally head inside the farmhouse. I am no pro decorator when it comes to Stardew Valley, but I do like to add a little bit of furniture to my house and make it feel kind of cozy. However, I think this would be a lot more difficult without the help of the industrial furniture set and IdaIda's furniture Recolor. In my opinion, these two mods go really well together to make your home feel sort of cozy and also retexture a lot of the vanilla furniture items that are just a little too bright and chunky for me. I feel like this strikes a good balance of still fitting the Stardew art style, but just looking a little bit more refined. They even managed to make the spouse room look pretty good. What's great too is that a lot of this furniture can be placed outdoors. I'm quite fond of placing little benches all over my farm to take photos at, so I'm glad I can have these pretty ones to take outside with me. If you feel like you want the rest of Pelican Town to match your style of interior designing, then Elegant Town Interiors is a huge help in this. I mean, just look at Olivia's house. This mod combines beautifully with the two furniture recolors that I mentioned previously, and I feel like it gives the townsfolk a lot more personality, as well as making their homes a bit more muted in terms of color palettes, which is always a welcome in my book. And the good news is, this is also compatible with Stardew Valley Expanded, as you can see here. One of the reasons I actually ended up installing this mod is because of how much of a difference it makes to Pierre's shop in particular. We spend a lot of time here in the early game buying our seeds, and honestly, if I had to see that bright yellow Yoba church one more time, I don't think I would have made it back. Considering how much time we spend going in and out of people's houses, this mod is an absolute must-have for me. If you'd like to make your villagers a little cuter while also keeping to the Stardew pixel style, I think Nyapu's portraits is a great choice. They do a really great job of making the villagers a little more cartoony and cute, but also keeping to their original style. Haley in particular looks so adorable in this mod, and it just makes me want to romance her even more. I mean, just look at her little smile. DaisyNiko's earthy recolor is an absolute must-have for anybody that prefers a more toned-down, earthy, and neutral-looking palette for Stardew Valley. We all love Stardew Valley, but the vanilla color palette, it can be a lot. It can be a lot, so this mod, it just does a great job of toning everything down, giving it a more cozy feel, and just, in my opinion, improving the overall look of the game. It combines really well with pretty much any other mod that you could pick, and I think it especially makes the Stardew Valley Expanded map look even more beautiful than it already is. Stardew Valley Expanded for me improves the walkability of the map quite a bit, and I think DaisyNiko and the earthy recolor, it just combines to make a very, very beautiful experience. Stardew Valley Expanded has a lot to offer beyond just the map changes, but I think that's an aspect of it that's often underlooked, and I find myself often just wanting to walk around and look at the features that it adds. Combining the new areas that Stardew Valley Expanded adds with DaisyNiko's recolor has really upped my screenshot game. I mean, just look how beautiful this looks, without even trying. Thank you so much for checking out my favorite Stardew mods with me, and thank you to the authors of all of these mods for their beautiful creations. Let me know which one is your favorite, or if you have any questions, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye for now!